here, folks, because we've also got someone else who's known for raising hellfire over on Capitol Hill. That is Mike Davis of the Article 3 Project. Mike, I've got to ask you, I'm sure you watched those hearings today as well as the rest of us. What did you think about the way that our senior law enforcement officials at the Secret Service and the Deputy Director of the FBI, did you find them forthcoming? Did you find their temperament and tone to be respectful? And did it meet the occasion of a president of the United States being shot in the head by a sniper?
They're partisan operatives, and that's very clear that they're partisan operatives. They pretend like they're nonpartisan career law enforcement officials. They're not. Let me give you an example. This acting Secret Service Director, Ronald Rowe, he's the deputy director. Guess how he got there? He worked on the Senate Judiciary Committee under Chairman Pat Leahy when Joe Biden was a senator. He worked for the Obama White House as a detailee when Vice President Biden was there. And then Vice President Biden is the one who appointed him as the deputy director of the Secret Service and the acting director of the Secret Service, or at least Biden's administration did that. Biden's Secretary of DHS did this. This guy is unbelievable. You have a former and likely future president of the United States. His Secret Service detail, which is required under statute to have a Secret Service detail for the rest of his life. President Trump's Secret Service detail requested beefed up Secret Service protection for Trump because he didn't have enough protection. And it was this deputy director, now acting director, who played a key role in making sure that President Trump did not have the Secret Service protection that he needed. At the same time, this Biden Secret Service beefed up security for President Zelensky of Ukraine, but they refused to beef up security for President Trump of America. Look, you have a President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris who have campaigned on the fact that they claim Trump is an existential threat to democracy. He's a dictator, and he has to be stopped at all costs. And after Biden and Harris tried to bankrupt Trump, throw him in prison for life, and take him off the ballot, the Supreme Court stepped in and stopped them. And so what is their response? They allowed President Trump to be a sitting duck on July 13th, and that didn't work, and now they're trying to destroy the Supreme Court.
And that's what I want to get into. We've got about 3 minutes until the break here, and wanted to carry over, but Mike, this is something where it seems like Biden is, I don't know if he actually wrote this himself, but this is a laundry list of wishes for the Democrat Party, birthday wishes, if you will, saying that they want everything possible for the Supreme Court because that's the one institution in America they don't have total control over.
Yeah, the Supreme Court is our last line of defense that is protecting us from these Biden and Kamala and Obama Democrats. These are not our parents or grandparents Democrats. These aren't liberals who love America. These are leftist. These are Marxists. They hate America, and they're trying to destroy America as we know it and build back better, as they call it, right? They don't believe in equality. They believe in equity. They don't believe in free speech. They believe in censorship. They don't believe in equal protection and due process of law. They believe in a politicized and weaponized justice system. And there are two key institutions in the way. That's the Supreme Court of the United States that President Trump transformed to the first constitutionalist majority in 90 years, and President Trump himself. And they have these Biden, Kamala, Obama Democrats have proved over and over again they will stop at nothing to destroy President Trump and to destroy the Supreme Court of the United States.
And that's what we're looking at, folks. Look, the Supreme Court, and by the way, this is exactly what FDR tried when he wanted to take total power, because the Supreme Court was knocking down all of his unconstitutional organizations, like the original NRA, the National Recovery Administration, not the National Rifle Association. No, he went completely too far with the power of government. He was pushing us towards a communist-style, central control, top-down system, and that's why he wanted to go after the Supreme Court. Why? Because they were the ones not knocking down what he was doing. And by the way, this is something that Barack Obama was able to get away with at his own discretion, with almost complete discretionary power, because the Supreme Court would rubber stamp his executive orders and would rubber stamp the things he was doing, including up to and including Obamacare itself, saying that it was a tax rather than a massive government takeover of the healthcare system. Stay tuned. We got right back. Quick break. And the last part here, the show, Mike Davis.
Focus.
Yes, focus on an American Home Shield warranty. It can protect your covered home systems and appliances like this AC with a repair or replacement.
Yes, thank you.
Home.
It's ohm, not home.
Yeah, it's home. Pretty sure it's home. American Home Shield. Sign up today at ahs.com.
What's the number one item in a crisis? Food. Because when the world goes sideways, grocery shelves get picked bare and people worry they'll go hungry. That's why you need 4Patriot's best-selling 3-month survival food kit. Food designed to last for 25 years, tastes great, and is easy to make. Packed with 688 servings and 24 delicious meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Get your food kit with free shipping and free mini kits at 4patriots.com.
If anyone has told you that gaining weight, feeling tired, and struggling with nagging digestive and joint issues is just a part of getting older, they are wrong. My name is Dr. Stephen Gundry, and after years of struggling with these same issues, I found a new way to support my health at home by making one simple change to my diet. It's called BioComplete 3. BioComplete 3 works by restoring your gut health from the inside out. This is a major part of how I lost 70 pounds and have kept the weight off for 25 years. It's not just me. This is working for everybody. Joe helped his gut health, and you can see the changes, not just how he looks on the outside, but how much better he felt on the inside.
I was 270. I'm now 140. It just feels amazing. Thank you, Dr. Gundry.
I helped all these people achieve incredible changes to their weight, their digestion, even their skin. And for a limited time, you can try BioComplete 3 risk-free for 90 days. Go to guthealthsecret.com.
Stop buzzing in my ear about the boring people at your office and trying to listen to the new human events with Jack Posobiec.
All right, Jack Posobiec here, back live, Human Events Daily. Mike Davis joins us from the Article 3 Project. Mike, tell us some more about what we're hearing about the Supreme Court, Biden's attempts to basically take this thing over in a style reminiscent of FDR.
So the Supreme Court stopped President Biden and Kamala Harris from putting President Trump in prison for the rest of his life for non-crimes and throwing him off the ballot for the bogus insurrection theory that the Democrats had. Joe Biden doesn't like that, so he's retaliating against the Supreme Court, and he's trying to destroy the Supreme Court. He's trying to destroy judicial independence. This is a failed president who got taken out in a bloodless coup by his treacherous vice president, Kamala Harris, the acting president right now. And the two of them, they've long wanted to destroy the Supreme Court because President Trump transformed the Supreme Court from a left-of-center Supreme Court to the first constitutionalist majority in 90 years. And this Supreme Court is in their way. It's in the left's way because the left does not believe in our Constitution. They don't believe that the federal government has limited power that we, the people, loan to the federal government through our loan agreement called the Constitution. These leftists don't believe that that limited power that we loan to the federal government is supposed to be divided between Congress, which writes the laws, the president, which enforces the laws, and the courts, which interprets the laws and decides cases and controversies. That these leftists want these unelected, unaccountable executive branch bureaucrats, the Tony Fauci's of the world, to have all of that power consolidated in the executive branch that's not accountable to courts, not accountable to Congress, power that the federal government doesn't have that's supposed to belong to the states and we the people. And this Supreme Court's changing that. And that's why the left is trying to destroy the Supreme Court. And this is why November 5th is so important, because do you want President Kamala Harris or President Donald Trump replacing Justice Clarence Thomas and Justice Sam Alito on the Supreme Court? Because if you think the BLM and Antifa riots and the upcoming Hamas riots are going to be bad, if you think the COVID lockdowns are bad, we're bad, just wait until the leftists take over the Supreme Court. There goes our God-given rights to speak, worship, associate, and protect ourselves. Everything is on the line on November 5th.
And look, we keep seeing this again and again and again. Plus, Mike, there is a strong possibility, by the way, for one or two potential nominees for the next president. Isn't that true?
There's no question. It could be one, two, or maybe three. And you want, look, it could be Thomas stepping down. I think Alito's going to walk out the door the second he can. If President Trump wins and the Republicans win the Senate, I think Alito's gone on day one. And then you look at Thomas's age, you look at Sotomayor's age and health, maybe even the Chief Justice, although I think the Chief Justice is a lifer. So, there could be three picks to the Supreme Court between Alito, maybe Thomas, maybe Sotomayor, and this will be a monumental shift. I mean, President Trump's biggest and most consequential accomplishment of his first term was transforming the Supreme Court to the first constitutionalist majority in 90 years. And again, they may disappoint us from time to time, but overall, they are doing a phenomenal job. This last term just proved that, and that could all get reversed if President Kamala Harris takes over. She will put hard-charging leftists. She has Brian Fallon from Left Wing Demand Justice as her top communications aide. Brian Fallon wants to pack the Supreme Court. Brian Fallon wants to put radical leftists on the Supreme Court. So does Kamala Harris, and she will absolutely do it. If Kamala Harris is elected, she'll probably win the House and Senate along with that election. They will nuke the legislative filibuster in the Senate, the 60-vote threshold. They will pack the Supreme Court, and they will appoint left-wing radicals to the Supreme Court, the Tanya Shuckins of the world, and there goes our God-given rights to speak, to worship, to associate, to protect ourselves.
And this is something that everybody needs to pay attention to. Mike, where can people go if they want to take action, if they want to do something about this, if they're tired of sitting back and complaining about all of this and they want to get involved? What do they do? How do they get involved with you in Article 3?
Article3project.org, article number 3project.org. You can donate there as we're gearing up to take on Kamala and these radical leftists. You can take action. We have an action page on there, and that is critically important to take action. And you can also follow us on social media. And thank you, Jack.
All right, I appreciate that. Mike Davis there from Article 3 Project. We're going to go now to